Minus 20 degrees wind chill is about to slam the Northeast. And this Arctic blast is bringing something we haven't seen in years. We're talking about a temperature swing of over 60 degrees from coast to coast on the same day. What's wild here is that while New York is dealing with dangerous cold, Los Angeles is hitting 70 degrees. And this massive contrast is creating some serious weather drama. Now, this Arctic air mass that's plunging south is the real deal, folks, and it's going to affect over 100 million people across the eastern half of the country. What we've got brewing here is a classic Arctic outbreak pattern where the jet stream has taken a massive dip south, allowing that bone-chilling Canadian air to just flood into the United States. And here's what makes this different from your typical cold snap. We're looking at extreme cold warnings stretching from the Great Lakes all the way down to the mid-Atlantic. The key player here is wind chill, and I need you to understand that this isn't just, oh, it's a little chilly outside weather. We're talking about exposed skin can freeze in less than 30 minutes in some areas, and that's not something to mess around with. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from right now, and I'll break down exactly what you can expect in your area. All right, so let's dive into what's happening city by city, because this thing is affecting different regions in completely different ways. Starting up in the Northeast, New York City is looking at temperatures hovering right around the freezing mark, anywhere from 27 to 37 degrees Fahrenheit. But here's the kicker with that wind whipping through those concrete canyons. The wind chill is going to make it feel like it's below zero. We're talking about wind chill values potentially dropping down to minus 10, maybe even minus 15 in some spots. The good news is the skies are going to be crystal clear, so at least you'll have sunshine, even if it's the kind of sunshine that doesn't warm you up one bit. Boston is in the same boat, maybe even a tick colder, with temperatures in the upper 20s and that same brutal wind chill situation. Philadelphia has an extreme cold warning in effect, and they're looking at temps anywhere from 23 to 41 degrees. But again, that wind chill is the story. Now, if you're watching from Philly right now, bundle up in layers, cover that exposed skin, and honestly, if you don't have to be outside for extended periods, just don't. Moving over to the Midwest, Chicago is getting absolutely hammered by this Arctic air mass. We're looking at temperatures struggling to even hit the freezing mark, probably staying in the low 20s or even upper teens throughout the day. The Windy City is living up to its name, and that wind is going to make it feel dangerously cold. This is the kind of weather that's lingering from that massive Arctic outbreak that swept through, and it's not going anywhere fast. Clear skies mean you might get some sun, but don't let that fool you into thinking it's going to feel pleasant out there. Now here's where it gets interesting as we head south. The story completely changes. Atlanta is sitting pretty at around 40 to 59 degrees, with mostly clear skies and just a light breeze. That's a 40-degree difference from what folks in Chicago are dealing with, all on the same day. Houston is even warmer, looking at temperatures in the low 50s to mid 60s, with partly cloudy skies and relatively mild conditions. So if you're in Texas right now, you're basically dodging this entire Arctic situation, though it might feel a bit cool compared to your typical warm weather. But here's what I want you to understand. This massive temperature gradient we're seeing is exactly the kind of setup that can breed some wild weather down the line. When you've got this much contrast between cold air and warm air, you're setting the stage for potential storm systems later in the week. Now let's talk about the West Coast, because while the East is freezing, they're having a completely different experience. Los Angeles is looking absolutely gorgeous, with temperatures climbing into the upper 60s, maybe even touching 70 degrees. We're talking sunshine, light winds, and the kind of weather that makes everyone else jealous. There might be some light showers in parts of Northern California, but Southern California is staying dry and pleasant. Miami is doing what Miami does best, sitting comfortable in the mid-60s to low 70s with partly cloudy skies. So we've got this incredible coast-to-coast contrast, dangerous cold in the Northeast and Midwest, pleasant conditions in the South, and downright beautiful weather out west. Now, let me break down what this means for your Monday, because understanding the why behind the weather helps you prepare better. This Arctic air mass is courtesy of a polar vortex disturbance that sent frigid air screaming south out of Canada. The jet stream has buckled into what we call a trough pattern, basically a big dip that's allowing that cold air to spill south. On the flip side, there's a ridge building over the west coast, which is why they're seeing such mild, pleasant conditions. This pattern is pretty locked in for at least the next 48 to 72 hours. So if you're in the cold zone, you're going to be dealing with this for a few days. For those of you in the Northeast, I can't stress enough how important it is to take this cold seriously. We're not just talking about being uncomfortable. We're talking about legitimate health risks if you're not prepared. Frostbite can set in quickly. Hypothermia is a real concern. And even your pipes could freeze if you're not careful. Make sure you're checking on elderly neighbors, bringing pets inside, and letting your faucets drip if you've got pipes in exterior walls. Now, I want to talk about what's coming later in the week, because this Arctic air isn't going to sit here forever. As we move toward the middle and end of the week, we're going to start seeing this pattern break down. The jet stream is going to start lifting back north, and when it does, we're going to see temperatures moderate pretty quickly across the east. But here's the thing. When you get this kind of rapid temperature change, especially when warmer air starts pushing back in, that's when you can get some active weather. We might be looking at a storm system developing later in the week as this cold air starts to retreat and warmer air tries to push back north. I'm keeping a close eye on that, and I'll have updates for you as we get closer and the models start to come into better agreement. Right now, there's not high confidence on exactly where any potential storm would track, but it's something to watch. The contrast between this Arctic air and the warmer air trying to push back could create some interesting dynamics. Are you watching from Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or anywhere in the Great Lakes region? Let me know, because you're right on that boundary. For Monday specifically, here's what you need to know if you're in the cold zone. Dress in layers, limit time outside, and keep an eye on any vulnerable family members. If you're in the warmer areas, enjoy it while it lasts, but start thinking about what might be coming later in the week. The bottom line is this: we've got a significant Arctic outbreak affecting the eastern half of the country, creating dangerous cold conditions for millions of people. This isn't hype. This isn't clickbait. This is real deal cold that demands respect and preparation. At the same time, if you're out west or down south, you're in pretty good shape for the next few days. As always, my goal here is to give you the straight facts without the drama, but also without sugarcoating when things are serious. This cold is serious for those dealing with it, and I want to make sure you're prepared and safe. I'll be tracking this pattern closely, and will keep you posted on any changes, especially as we look toward that potential storm system later in the week. If you appreciate this straightforward approach to weather forecasting, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any updates. Turn on those notifications, because when weather gets active, you want to be the first to know what's heading your way. Drop a comment and let me know what city you're in and what you're seeing outside your window right now. Stay warm out there if you're in the cold zone. Enjoy the nice weather if you've got it. And I'll see you in the next update. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll talk soon.